So today I've got a word on horses going into battle, and how that connects to us as mothers, as wives, as children of God. If you're interested in hearing about the rest of my Job Bible study, go ahead and tune in to today's video. Hi, my name is Leslie. I'm a Christian wife, mother, and childbirth doula. This is where I share about birth, faith, and family. Today, I am continuing with the rest of my Bible study on Job 39, which I spoke about in my last video where I spoke about eagles and ostriches and what God taught me through this word. And today I want to talk about donkeys and horses. So I'm going to tune right into the word. I'm going to start by reading, and then we will go into all that there is to learn. So I'm going to start in Job 39, verse 5, and I'm going to read verse 5 through verse 8. Who has sent out the wild donkey free? Or who has loosed the bands of the wild donkey? Whose house I have made the wilderness, and the barren land his dwellings. He scorns the multitude of the city, neither regards he the crying of the driver. The range of the mountains are his pasture, and he searches after every green thing. That's the donkey. Then I'm going to jump down to verse 19, and we're going to read 19 through 25 about the horse. Have you given the horse strength? Have you clothed his neck with thunder? Can you make him afraid as a grasshopper? The glory of his nostrils is terrible. He paws in the valley and rejoices in his strength. He goes to meet the armed men. He mocks at fear and is not afraid. Neither turns he back from the sword. The quiver rattles against him, the glittering spear and the shield. He swallows the ground with fierceness and rage, neither believing he that it is the sound of the trumpet. He says among the trumpets, ha ha, and he smells the battle afar off, the thunder of the captains and the shouting. So I know, pretty elusive. You're probably like, okay, Leslie, you just read me a description about a donkey and a horse. What does that have to do with anything? Well, it has a lot to do with everything. Because as I was reading this, the Lord was just really speaking to me. I mean, the kind of like the little subheading on this chapter is God saying, consider my amazing creation. And there's something that he's saying through each of these animals that he mentions here. And I couldn't help but notice he mentions a donkey and a horse. And so naturally, you want to compare them. Naturally, they're comparable. And so as I started thinking about this wild donkey he started talking about, he says that he says, who's the one who has made the wild donkey free, and has loosed its bands, and who lets it live in the wilderness, and the barren land is where it dwells. That's God. God gives us free will. God gives us free will. And it says that the donkey scorns the multitude of the city. In a city, there's protection. In a city, there's provision. In a city, there's community. Like, here is this supposed donkey looking down upon those that live in a city, right? Neither does he regard the crying of the driver, right? The driver of a horse, normally the one who it obeys or it listens to. This donkey, it doesn't regard the crying of the driver. This wild donkey is us, guys. This is what I receive. This wild donkey, this is us. We're given free will. And we're allowed to be out in the wilderness, and the barren land is our dwelling place. And if we choose to be, quote unquote, our own interpretation of what modern day culture tells us is free, then you may look down upon those who you think are in bondage, those who are in the faith, those who are under the protection of God. And it says neither, and these are the people that don't regard the crying of the driver. They don't regard that God is calling them and crying out for them. And it says the range of the mountains is his pasture. That's a really sad pasture because mountains are rocky and they're not green. And it says, and he searches after every green thing. Of course he does. He has to search. He has to search out for green thing for life, because what does he have to eat? He has to provide for himself, right? This is really, I thought, this is unlike the sheep in Psalm 23. The Lord is my shepherd, I shall not want. He makes me lie down in green pastures. And so as you're reading this, you can just see this wild donkey, it doesn't want to be tamed. It's allowed to have free will in the wilderness, dwells in barrenness. It's apart from God. This is where we start, right? This is, we may choose to be here at some point in our lives, right? Like, people choose this. And when I was reflecting on this, I wrote this. I wrote, we were as wild donkeys, scorning the obedient, who were abiding in the safety of God, and not hearing God's cry for us to come into submission to him. And so we searched hard for life in a pasture where it was rough terrain, instead of being like sheep, instead of being like, dare I say, the horse. Instead of being like the horse that they mention, it says that the horse has been given strength by God. The horse fears the Lord, right? Because he says in verse 20, can you make him afraid as a grasshopper? No, I can't make a horse afraid as a grasshopper, but the Lord can. It says that he paws in the valley. So when you look up that word in the Hebrew, it literally means that in the valley, he's still digging. He's not like, oh, I'm just not gonna do anything. He's still working. He's still knowing he's gonna get his way out of the valley, and he rejoices in his strength. He goes on to meet the armed men, meaning he prepares himself for battle. He mocks at fear, and he's not scared, and he doesn't turn away from the attack. And it says that he goes forward. He goes straight into battle, hearing the noise, hearing the trumpets, hearing the weapons clanking and stuff like that. He's strengthened by the Lord, even when he's in the valley. It doesn't say that his life is perfect, right? But he is ridden by his driver, by armed men, and he goes into battle fearlessly. And so you compare these two images. The wild donkey out and about thinking, oh, everything's good, but having to search for their own provision, his own provision, really having nothing to show. Meanwhile, the horse, walking in obedience to its master, is being used to go straight into battle without fear. And that is what God can do with us. That is what God can do with our obedience. He can strengthen us. He can prepare us to go forth and battle what's in front of us. And we can do it fearlessly, knowing that he's the one that goes before us, knowing that he has never left us nor forsaken us, knowing that he is the one that gets us through. He is the one that's already claimed the victory for us. Wow. It's a beautiful promise. And so I encourage you all, let's be horses in the battle. Let's not be the wild donkey out in the wilderness. Let's not be the donkey in the wilderness. Let's be the horses in battle. So I hope that this is encouraging to you. I hope that this was an edifying word to help encourage you. If you have any comments or anything, feel free to leave them down below. Give this video, if you liked it, give this video a thumbs up. You can subscribe and hit the notification bell so you get alerted every time I put out a new video. And I will see you in the next one. God bless you.